Let's dive into some MySQL today, specifically MySQL 8.4. Well, there's this new feature, Tagged GTID. It sounds like it could really change the game when it comes to data replication.
For sure. I think it's a total game changer. You know, the way data replication has always worked in MySQL, it's been pretty much all or nothing.
Right.
You replicate everything or you replicate nothing. But Tagged GTID is bringing in this whole new level of granularity where you can basically choose exactly which transactions are going to be replicated and where they go.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. How does it actually work?
Yeah, think of it like adding a shipping label to a package.
Okay.
But for your data. So each tag is like a marker, and it's going to let you really finely control where that information is going.
Okay.
This is really helpful, especially in, really complex setups like InnoDB clusters or group replication, when you might have a ton of different servers all working together, and you really need to make sure that your data is consistent across the board.
I see. So instead of just copying everything blindly, you can say, I only want this specific change to go to this particular server.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost like you have a filter on the receiving end that's only allowing transactions with specific tags to pass through.
Gotcha.
For selectively replicating delete operations.
Okay, yeah, that one stood out to me too, because deleting data can be a little bit scary, especially when it's replicated across a bunch of different systems. So being able to control that seems really useful.
Absolutely. So let's say you've got like a database that's logging user activity. You probably want to clean that up every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of the old entries.
Yeah.
So you could tag those delete transactions. You could call it something like delete logs or whatever. And then your main database, it's going to say completely unaffected. But those deletes, they never actually make it to your analytics replica.
Interesting.
That might only need the aggregated data anyway.
So every other change would replicate normally, but those tagged deletes would just disappear.
Pretty much.
I mean, it seems almost too good to be true. Is there a catch?
Well, not really a catch. It basically all boils down to understanding GTID, Global Transaction ID.
Right.
It's this unique identifier that's given to every single transaction. And Tagged GTID is building on top of that. So on the receiving end, you have this concept called GTID purged.
Okay.
And it's basically acting as a filter. And it tells the replica, okay, skip any transaction that has a specific tag.
So it's not magic, but it's definitely a pretty clever solution.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about all the times in the past we would have had to write all these complex filters or mess around with binary logs just to be able to control the replication.
Yeah. No, it was a pain. Tagged GTID definitely streamlines that process a lot.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that it works across a bunch of different replication setups.
Okay.
Native, group, you name it. It's super flexible.
Wow.
But it's not even just about convenience, this level of control that you get. It has huge implications for things like data integrity and auditing.
Could you give me an example of how it would actually improve data integrity or auditing?
Sure. So imagine you're working with a financial system. You need to keep track of every single transaction for auditing purposes.
Right.
So with Tagged GTID, you can actually tag transactions that are related to specific accounts or even types of transactions. Like you could tag something as high value or international. And that's going to make it so much easier when you need to track the flow of money or identify any kind of potential anomalies.
Right.
And that's going to really simplify your audits and strengthen your data integrity overall.
That's a great example. So if I'm understanding this right, implement Tagged GTID isn't like some massive overhaul of your system.
Right.
So is this something that's going to require tons of training, or can DBAs pick it up relatively quickly?
It definitely helps to have a solid understanding of GTID, but the implementation itself, I think, is pretty intuitive.
Okay.
The syntax for tagging transactions is simple. The logic behind GTID purged is easy to grasp. The MySQL 8.4 documentation, it's really comprehensive.
Okay, good.
And there are already a bunch of resources online that go through the whole process step by step.
Perfect.
So you're not on your own.
That's good to hear. So we've talked a lot about what Tagged GTID is and how it works. But what I'm really curious about is how do you see this impacting the way people approach data management in general?
Well, I think it's all about giving users more control. Imagine a world where managing these complex replication scenarios is super easy, where fine-tuning the flow of your data is as easy as just adding a tag.
Right.
I think Tagged GTID has the potential to really democratize these advanced replication techniques and make them way more accessible to a much wider range of users. Tagged GTID, it's not this one-size-fits-all solution. It's really this powerful tool that's just inviting everyone to explore and get creative. So for anyone listening, the question I would ask is, how could you use the power of Tagged GTID to solve your specific data management challenges? Because the potential is definitely there.
Yeah, just waiting to be unlocked.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been great.
Yeah, this was fun.
And for everyone listening, we'll catch you next time.